yourselves, if you put your hand over your eyes, I open my eyes to see the spiritual truth today. And over your ears, I open my ears to hear the spiritual truth today. And just put your hand over your heart and extend out your arms. I open my heart to receive the spiritual truth today. The spiritual truth that I'm working with today is that we are designed to be happy. We're designed to be happy. Sure, there are going to be bumps along the road. There are going to be times of unhappiness, unrest along the way. But those times when we're unhappy are most often times when we are unwilling to live on life's terms, unwilling to live on God's terms, unwilling to live on infinite intelligence's terms, unwilling to live on Allah's terms, unwilling to live on whatever you want to call that natural order of things. That's when we become unhappy. Struggle and depression are not part of the design plan. Happiness is part of the divine plan. So I'm going to spend the next couple of weeks just exploring what it is that makes us happy. Because oftentimes I don't think we know what makes us happy. And I think it's important for us frequently, actually, to ask ourselves in spiritual practice, what makes me happy? You know, Madison Avenue, they rely on us not knowing what makes us happy. Every time you open a magazine, watch television, listen to the radio, go on the internet, there are a whole group of people in places, people you've never met, in places you might not have ever been to, who are sitting around a table designing advertising that promises to make you happy. They rely on us not knowing how to be happy. And to be truthful, at least one time or two times or 100 times or more than that, most of us have fallen for that. I know I have. Oh, that'll make me happy. You know, we spend a lot of time. If only I drove, if only I wore, if only I had, then I would be happy. Then I'd feel better about me. We spend a lot of money, we spend a lot of time, and we're not any happier because we have forgotten what makes us happy. See, you can't market happiness. You can mark quick fix, feel good, but you can't market happiness. So I want to explore, in the next week or two, I'm going to explore what it is that makes us happy. And today I'm going to jump into what the most important thing I'm going to say in the whole series, and that is this. Happiness is not about what, it is about who. Happiness is not about what, it is about who. Now, here's the thing. You don't really need to come to church. You just need to remember back when you were a little kid and you went out in the backyard and you began to play. It wasn't about what you had. It was about who you had to play with out in the backyard. And then you went to elementary school, and it wasn't about anything other than who I could play with in elementary school, who liked me in elementary school. And then you went to junior high school and high school, and then maybe you started getting a little what, but the purpose of getting a little what was so that you could have the who's that you wanted in your life. Because happiness is more about who than it is about what. See, if we could just get our happy what, if there was something that was what that would make us happy, we would just go get our happy what and we'd be on about our lives. And it wouldn't matter how you treated me, it wouldn't matter about anything else, wouldn't matter about the insect because we had our happy what with us. But it doesn't work that way. It's not about that. See, here's what we know, that once we get a happy what, then we need a happy what's next. Because happy what is just caffeine happiness. You know, you're high for a little while and then it ends. Remember, think back to the time that you had your first iPhone, your first smartphone. Woo, weren't you happy you had that smartphone and it made you all happy until the next smartphone came out. And then you weren't happy anymore with that smartphone. The same to your car. You know, you were so happy with your car, just loved that car. And then it made you happy. And then pretty soon it's falling down all around you. You know, the doors are falling off. It doesn't start all the time. You're no longer happy. See, when our aging what deflates, our happiness deflates. And when our happiness deflates from an aging what? We know we were just marketed to. We didn't really understand that who is what makes us happy, not what. You know, we took a group of people to Costa Rica not long ago, and we were in the rainforest, deep into the rainforest. And we had a guide on one of the boats. He was a young kid around 20 years old, very educated, understood the ecology of the region very, very well, handsome kid. And I looked at the area, I mean, the rainforest area where we were in Tortuguero was relatively small. And I looked at, I walked to town one day, and it was just what I considered to be very poor. Little houses, you'd call them shacks, really, little tiny things. Often no doors on them because they didn't need doors. Just very, very simple. And so I asked the kid when I was on the boat, I said, do you ever want to go to the city? He said, well, I went to the city to school. He said, but I found out I didn't like it. I'm much happier here. I said, well, what about the clubs? You know, because when I was in my 20s, that's what was happening here. There was a little activity going on. The jungle was good in the pictures, but not do that. You know, something happening. So what he said was, you know, he said, I went to the big city. He said, but I don't even like to vacation there because this makes me happy. The people here make me happy. The region itself, all of the animals make me happy. And from his perspective, I began to look anew at the people in that rainforest. I began to look in their hearts and in their eyes. And I could see what he saw. He saw the who, not the what. And it made him happy. That's what we can begin to do as well. Parents, you know that you're only as happy as your most unhappy child. Aren't you? You're just as happy as your unhappy child, and you're not any happier. The last evidence of this, and then I'll move on, is that in the end, your happiness is relational. It's not possessional. In the end. You know, when you're in the hospital and it's time to make peace, it's time to talk to whoever, you don't ask your beloved to bring all your shoes because you want to, you know, I better make happy with my shoes because I didn't wear them all and maybe they're unhappy. No, you don't do that. No. Guys, you don't ask the nurse to wheel you out to your car so you can have a few last words with your automobile. No. No. Yeah, maybe. I love how honest this church is. He just got a brand new truck, so okay. But when it wears off and he sees a new truck, okay, so what that tells us is it's relationship. It's about the who. It's not about the what. Here's the thing I know about happy people. Happy people have peace in their heart. They have peace in their heart about themselves. Rich, it doesn't matter whether they're rich or poor, introverts or extroverts. They have a little or they have a lot. They have kids or they don't have kids. They're married, single, divorced, whatever. Doesn't matter about that. They have peace in their heart. And when you're around them, you notice they're comfortable in their skin. And sometimes you see these people who are just comfortable in their skin. They're just at peace with people, and you know their circumstances, and you look at them and you say, my God, are you in denial? Why aren't you unhappy? You know, but they're not. They're happy. They don't seem worried. The truth is that people who have peace aren't warring with other people. They're not putting on the dog. They're not trying to be anybody they're not. They understand the importance of just being with one another. And peace, people not only have peace with themselves, but they have peace with other people in their lives. They're not angry. They're not resentful. And you ask them why. You know their circumstances again, and you say, my God, why aren't you bitter? I would be bitter. And they said, you know what? I've moved on. I've worked on forgiving them because I want to be happy in my life. They know. The other thing that people who are peaceful have, not only have peace with themselves and peace with other people, they have peace with God. Whether they call that entity God or not, whether it looks like our God or not, they know that there is a universal justice in the world. See, they don't have to be the ones to cause the consequence because they know God's on the job, whatever they call that. They know that justice will prevail, and it doesn't have to prevail at their hand. They let go of it. Happy people have peace because of God. So maybe we can take something out of this. Maybe we can begin to think of it as this. Anything that undermines our peace undermines our happiness. Anything that undermines our peace undermines our happiness. Now, why talk about this in a church? Because we know that there is a spiritual answer to every one of life's questions, even the question of, what makes me happy? And the answer to what makes me happy is who and peace. Those are the two things we want. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing. In religious science, we can take this notion of people who are peaceful, have a relationship with God, into our theology. And what do we say God is? God is everywhere. What do we say who God is? God is everyone and everything. So our responsibility then is to cultivate peace, not with a God in the sky, but with everyone and everything. And then we begin to experience happiness in our life. Jesus understood this. When the Jewish scholar came in and said, Jesus, what is the greatest commandment of all? What is the greatest commandment? Now, in many Bible verses, they use the word commandment. And that for me means he's saying, what is the greatest shall not or shall? You know, the right or wrong. And Jesus says, love. And the scholar says, look, Jesus, maybe you didn't hear me. There are 600 laws we Jews have to govern ourselves. Which is the shall not, the shall, the do, the don't? Which is that one that God loves the best? And Jesus says, love. That's what we need to begin to cultivate in our life, is more love in our life. See, love is a relational word. It's a who word. It's not a what word. It's a who word. And Jesus, he might not have known that we were religious scientists, so just to cover all of the bases, Jesus says, not only love your God with all of your heart, which to us means love everything to all of your heart, but if you didn't get that, love your neighbor as yourself, because your neighbor is yourself. Love everyone, love everything, and that will bring peace to your heart, and peace will bring happiness to your heart. See, love needs to stop being an action word. It needs to start being a definition of who we are. And in fact, it already is a definition of who we are. We don't have to go out and change anything. We have to follow the words of the great theologian Marianne Williamson, who says, the great masters, Jesus, Buddha, Lao Tzu, and others, don't have anything we don't have. They have perfect love inside. The difference is they don't have anything else. See, when we can begin to let go of the anything else and let our love shine through, we can know peace. And if we can know peace, we can know happiness. Because love is a relational word. It's not about a what. It's about a who in your life. See, when we can begin to come from love, we can begin to cultivate unconditional love. We can begin to love people no matter what they look like, who they love, who they vote for, where they live. We can begin to have peace and love in our heart for everybody, even the people who've trespassed against us. we can cultivate that love. If we really want to become happy, we need to really get who, not what. We need to find ways to deepen our connection. That's why these discussions are so important to me. Not only the discussion Peggy is doing today, people who are estranged. We can heal that. We can heal that estrangement. Bring peace to your heart and bring love. People who are at peace are happy people. Let your church work with that. Come to this discussion on November 22nd about this book. They figured out how to love each other. We can do that too. Let your church help with that. Because the deeper our connections, the deeper our who's in our lives, the deeper our happiness in our lives. And that's ultimately what all of us want. I hope you come back next week because I'm going to talk more about this whole concept of how to cultivate the who's in your life. The who's within you, the who's that you haven't spoken to in many years, and the who's you have yet to meet in your life. Let's take this message into prayer. Knowing there's only one power, it's the power of love. And it runs through me easily and effortlessly if I get out of the way. So today I affirm my willingness to get out of the way. To know that the love that is here is there and everywhere. I give thanks for that. I release this word into the law, and together I say, so it is.